Hello everybody, welcome to this new video. I'm the Purrely guy, and I wanted to start this video by thanking everybody who subscribed to the channel. We have reached almost 110 subscribers, so past the milestone of the 100. And I'm really grateful for all the support that I received over the videos, especially the first one. And I wanted to thank everybody for subscribing and that we shall dominate with Purely national season. And let's dive right in with the video of today, which is having a look at Purely post Cyberstorm Axis. Now, I do not have a specific deck list yet, but I want to show off possible texts that I have taken note from the OCG and that could be interesting here, as well as showing off what the Purely core looks like, what cards maybe to pick up for next set to play, and what the new cards do. So compared to before, the main differences that we have is that we're of course playing 3 Lily and 3 Sleepy Memory, which are very good and fix a lot of the problems the deck had before. We only play To My Friend now because it is searchable by Lily. And we are also playing 1 Leap and 1 Street, so we have extra targets in case we already have My Friend Purely, and they also offer great utility in general in the deck. As you guys can see, the core now consists of 22 cards, so that leaves 18 spots for non-engine, which I find great, especially since the deck consistency has raised, so we don't necessarily need to play cards like Prosperity, but of course they're still great to play. And I'll go into the specific of what the new cards do. So the first one is Lily, so we get a new main deck monster, which is also dark. And it basically says that if it's normal summon or special summon, you add a Purely card from the deck that is not a quick play. So you can search Purely, you can search My Friend, you can search Street, or Leap. The second effect, which is also very great, is that you can XYZ summon using a quick play spell in your graveyard. So now keeping a lot of cards in hand in order to be able to XYZ summon isn't required anymore, because you will be able to do that with Lily using the graveyard. Now, the one other main difference that this card has compared to regular Purely is that Lily has both effect be once per turn. So one thing that we could think about is also maybe cutting this to 2 copies, since drawing it might actually not be great. But because we have access to the regular Purely with all the quick plays, I think it can be safe to say it can stay at 3 in the list, as if we already have access to it, we just access the other Purely, which is not once per turn, and we can keep summoning that and doing X-Rays shenanigans altogether. The second card I want to talk about is Sleepy Memory, which is the new quick play we get. This card really doesn't have that much effect. It basically doesn't have a first effect like all the other ones. And the main thing it does, it summons a Purely, and basically it makes the next battle damage you would take this turn become 0. So that's about it. But you need to summon in order to use this effect. And then the third effect, which is the very important one, is that once per turn during your opponent's standby phase, you can draw 1 card. Now, this affects like Delicious Memory and Happy Memory stacks, and that means that if you have 3 copies of this card under XYZ, you're able to draw 3 cards. And there is a specific interaction with Leap that I will probably showing off in one of the next few videos that lets you basically draw 6 cards, because you have Plump with 3 of these under, so you draw 3 in standby phase, and still in standby phase you can use Leap to summon Noir over Plump, and then you draw 3 more because you're still in standby phase, and this card is like a soft once per turn per copy pretty much. So these 2 cards fixes a lot of the problems the deck had, because one of the main issues was that we were committing a lot of resources into making Noir, The fact that we can use cards from the graveyard now makes it so we don't need to use as many resources from hand to access it. And Sleepy Memory refills our hand during the opponent's standby phase by drawing cards, and we gain extra layers of interruption by drawing hand traps or possible follow-up for next turn. So even if our Noir gets outed, we are able to get follow-up from this card by drawing in standby phase, My Friend by adding back from graveyard, and Street by summoning a level 1 Purrely from deck, which is also great because it cannot be targeted. And this is about it for the Purely core. The extra deck is about the same as before. You could argue playing one Happiness, but depending on whether Castir is popular or not, maybe a second copy might be needed. And let's dive into the tech cards or possible cards to play in the main. Of course, we have triple tactic talents. I expect hand traps to still be somewhat popular, and this card really helps because even if we get hand trapped, we are able to either look at our opponent hand if we can already extend through it, or draw more cards if we need discard fodder for the quick plays to get into more XYZ plays. We have consistency cards such as Desires and Prosperity. You can play Desires now because we have 6 monsters in deck, but of course still like not the best. I would say Prosperity is the best pot to play in this because it can also search the piece that you are missing. Or floodgates or whatever you need in that situation. Eclipse is still great because if Cashier is still prevalent into a Cashier board, you can use it and pretty much go for a Zeus line very easily. Ruler is great because this deck doesn't have a very easy time OTKing turn 2. And Dark Ruler is a very high impact card that can let you break off the board and then possibly make a very big Zeus and maybe a Noir next to it, depending on the situation. Then we have Veiler. This one is one of the better ones in my opinion because it's not once per turn, so even drawing multiple copies in standby phase or if we have already a copy in hand is great. And it's a great tool for the deck to have extra interruptions during the opponent turn. Ash is of course still great since Branded is still a thing. Over here, Nibiru, Moonlight. So the reason why I like this a lot is because it's a one of hand trap we can play. The problem the deck might have is that because you draw 2 to 3 cards in standby phase, you need to draw different kinds of hand traps. So one thing to keep in mind and maybe to apply is that we might be playing one of hand traps or 2 ofs, so we don't draw multiple copies of them, especially if they're once per turn. And that's also why I think that Impermanence is not great in this deck, because drawing it in standby doesn't really help you. And you cannot use it, so regular hand traps are better in my opinion. Ghost Ogre could be argued as well. And then we have Droll, which I think might be one of the better hand traps next format, considering a lot of the decks will be searching. And for the hand trap, that's about it. Now, some more packages that I've seen being played in the OCG. The Salvation package. So this package is used because there's some cards that out our Noir, such as Herald of the Abyss and XYZ Encore. And through this card, we can access Secret Village. Now, accessing Secret Village is pretty great because we can not lose to these 2 cards specifically. And we play Cobalt Eagle because even if we draw it, we can just normal summon it and then put it at the top of our deck, so we can still search with Salvation. And the deck can play Slacker Magician, which is a rank 1 that is able to protect itself by battle. And if it would be targeted, you can, by a card effect, you can detach 1 and negate the activation and destroy that card. So in the instance in which we have this plus Noir and Secret Village up, it's very hard for them to odd them. Now we would be able to lose the Lava Golem, of course. That's one thing to take into account. So this package might see play or not, depending on what is more popular in the format. And then we have possible discard fodder engine. So we have Shell, which is also level 1. Might be better with Slacker or trying to get more rank 1 access. We have Snow, which searches itself, or Brow. I would consider, if especially if you're playing Prosperity, to play these two over Brow, or like play 30 Snow and one Brow. So that in case you already activate Prosperity, you can just keep searching Snow, and then at the last one you search Brow. Um, and then we have Dimensional Fissure, which is very played right now since Tier Element is still the better deck in the OCG. And we have Rivalry. I think Rivalry is going to be probably a must next format, since I expect a lot of different kaiju options, or such as yeah, we can see it down here: Kurikara, Gameciel, Lava Golem, Seer mode to be prevalent, and this card really helps with that. I would say to probably play this in pair with Prosperity, if not in the main deck, in the side deck. And yeah, that's about it for the main deck options, really. It the decks have stayed around the same, but there's some new ones, of course. And then for the side, of course, I think these four kinds of monsters are gonna be very good in this deck, since we don't really rely on normal summoning too much. And we can play without our normal summon. And depending on which one can be most effective in the format, of course, I would specifically play that one. I expect Kaijus and Kurikara to be the more common ones. Then we have, of course, I would say the Duster Trust package is also very good, since it can search out to even Opponent Noir or big boards, in pair with Dark Ruler. We have Cosmic. Cosmic is very good because the deck draws a lot. So going second against trap decks, not only you have Noir that can spin back their traps, but you also get to possibly draw more back row hate, and so it becomes very hard for them to win. And then we have the two problematic cards for this deck, so Herald of the Abyss and XYZ Anchor. So Herald of the Abyss basically says you pay 1,500, declare one monster type and attribute, and the opponent must send when face-up monster with the declared type and attribute from their field to the graveyard, if possible. Now, technically speaking, this card can be played around if we leave a Lily on field while we have Noir, since we then can send Lily. And the problem is that if we don't do that, we can lose our Noir. And that's why Secret Village is being played right now, because Herald is very prevalent in the OCG. And the second one is XYZ Anchor. So XYZ Anchor pretty much detaches everything under our Noir, and then it bounces it back. And we are able to summon any monster that was detached by this card effect back. And one of the reasons why IP is played with a Palooza is because sometimes we can end on IP, and then even if they XYZ Anchor us, we're able to summon 2 to 3 monsters back. Because we will have one XYZ and one of the small Purrelys, and possibly one monster the opponent we took from the opponent. And then we can basically link them off into a Palooza, so we still have some forms of interruption during the opponent turn. And then there's going first cards. There's, of course, Judgment, which can negate Heralds, but it's also just good overall. Although I don't know if it's the best option. I think Rivalry is the better one. D-Barrier could be helpful. A Pointer and DDG. So yeah, nothing too much to talk about those. One more card I want to talk about is this, because it's easily summonable in this deck, and it outs a lot of things. So this would be a card to pick up from CYAC. And I would get my hands of copies of Herald the Abyss as soon as possible, as well as the other packages in this deck, as they're all pretty cheap at the moment, and they might become more expensive in the future. I want to thank everybody for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like, comment if you have any feedback for the videos, or if you enjoyed it or have any new ideas for possible videos in the future. And I want to still thank everybody again for the 100 subscribers. And that's it for the video. See you